just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show and prove. Just
Welcome back to Rubbin'minds. Now, you'll agree with me that parenting in this age is very different from what our parents, grandparents went through. When you look at the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, it's a whole different ball game with the internet, with social media, with a lot of pressure, and parents have to navigate all these things. Gone at the time where you just say, don't do that. Your child will probably ask for an explanation. And we're now joined on the show, Ijoma Okafor Emega, who is an author, and she's written some parenting books, is joining us on Rubbin'minds. Ijoma, welcome to Rubbin'minds.
Thank you very much.
So I'd like to go straight into it. Parenting, when it comes to values, because these days a lot of people say, oh, we don't have the right values as a society. So it starts at the family. That's the smallest unit of society. What values should we be instilling in the children of today? And how do you ensure that it sticks with them as they grow?
I would say that families are different. Like when we say no two marriages are the same, it's the same thing with no two families are the same. However, there are essential values we should instill on children. We should instill in children. And the most important values I think that we should instill in children is kindness. In today's world where children face bullying, there are a lot of bullying in the schools, in our neighborhoods. I think teaching children is... Now, the next one is honesty. It is important that we instill the value of responsibility. Responsibility is very important. As children grow, it is essential that parents instill in them age-appropriate responsibilities that they should take at each step of the way, because this will help them, this will structure them and plan them. So these are the most important values I think that parents should pay attention to: kindness, honesty, responsibility. Thank you.
These values are things that cut across so many things, because if you're kind, you won't bully the next person. If you're honest, if you take responsibility, you'll act in a kind way to others. You won't be reckless. You do the right thing. So these are very important values. And earlier on, I was speaking about the different climates we have now in, where you have social media, you have the internet, you have a lot of external pressure that probably parents 30, 40 years ago didn't have to deal with. So my next question is, what do we do to protect our children from some of the harms that come from this technology, social media, this exposure?
This question, it's a dicey situation, because there are no clear boundaries. It's blurry. It is actually my main focus in my thesis. I'm running my PhD candidate. I'm in my PhD candidacy presently, and I am focusing on how internet addiction affects the adolescent well-being, more on their psychological well-being and on their physical well-being. And parents are going through a lot. It's not easy, because in our economy of today, both parents have to work. And when both parents are working, paying more attention to what our children are doing, what they are exposed to, tends to be difficult. We see that parents leave the care of the children most times to external sources to take care of them. However, we are going to do the best that we can do. And the most important thing is to set clear boundaries. It is very essential that we set no should be no.
No should be
And
no, yes should be yes.
when
Clear
you're
boundaries. And
setting this clear
and these clear boundaries, when do you start setting them when it comes to the accessibility of these devices? You have 2-year-olds that can probably put on the phone, go to their favorite show on the internet and start playing it all by themselves. So when do you start setting those boundaries when it comes to regulating their social media use, and how do you also guide the external sources, like you put it, in maintaining those boundaries that were set in the home when they do go to school or when they are left in the care of a nanny or domestic staff?
Yes. So as early as possible. As early as possible, these clear boundaries should be set. So we shouldn't wait until it's too late. From before the age of 2, when the kids feel that they can do all these things, they can navigate, they can use various apps or go to various you go to the YouTube, go to various social media. We should learn to set these boundaries as early as possible.
Okay, so one way is to set the boundaries, but these children will still have to deal with the pressure. When they go to school, when they show up on social media, they'll still have to deal with that pressure. What do they do when, for example, they're not being liked on social media, they're not popular, or they're actually being bullied, cyberbullying? How do they withstand those pressures?
So that is where having conversations with children comes in, and I would entreat all parents to be a role model to their kids. When you're a role model, and teach them how to practice kindness, be kind to other people, I think the rate of bullying will drop drastically. Also, parents should be able to monitor what their kids are doing online. There are ways to checkmate the sites they go on, what they do, the conversations they are having. There are ways that you can be able to access which social media apps have my children used, or which site have my children been on. And I would also entreat parents to limit the exposure of social media applications children go on until a certain age. I mean, there is no rush. We are on these social media apps every day, and I don't think there's something these kids are missing. There are a lot of things that can take over their attention, apart from going on these social media apps and becoming, what I would say, start bullying or being exposed to bullying as well. There are a lot of things. Again, I would understand parents from their point of view. Sometimes when parents work all through the week and they come back home over the weekend, or they're on a public holiday, they want to rest. The best way to keep the kids occupied, if you don't want to send them on a play date where you cannot monitor, you don't want to go for a birthday date where you can't monitor, is to give them the applications. Because when you give them you used to give them their digital devices. When you give it to them, they are occupied. Well, you can time these things, you can monitor, there are things to do, there are ways to do it. And it is very important that parents pay attention to these things, because there is a lot going on the social media world. There is really a lot.
And how can parents be more intentional when it comes to engaging their wards, their children, on very sensitive issues? Bullying is one of them. We have different things that they're exposed to on social media. How are we able to broach those kind of sensitive conversations, and how early should we be having such conversations?
I would say when the children start asking certain questions, because I wouldn't want parents to give information that the child is not ready for. And I wouldn't like parents to have these conversations in front of children that are not age appropriate. So children are inquisitive, they are curious, and they interact with other people. No matter how much parents try to shield their children or their words, children mingle with other children. If you say, I'm not giving my child a digital device until a certain age, you are doing great, but understand that it is just you. Out of 10 parents, 2 may decide not to give their children digital devices, or even if they give them, they set limits, they set clear boundaries, while 8 parents are not doing the same thing that you are doing. And for instance, you're struggling with this other 8 children who their parents aren't doing what your own parents are doing. And that's where the conversations come in. I watched something on YouTube. I did this, I did that, and I saw this and I saw that.
So it's about having age-appropriate conversations and not having some of these conversations prematurely and ensuring they're right for it. We know that on social media these days, you might go on somebody's bio and you see things like pronouns, him, her, they, them, and you have people identifying in different ways. How do we have these delicate conversations? Because a lot of times the schools are not prepared in the curriculum to deal with some of these issues, but they're able to still access it because the internet is a global platform. So while it might not be something that's common in a particular country, but in other countries, they're having to deal with pronouns and identification, people wearing certain kind of clothes, people coming out, so to say.
Okay, so starting this conversation, as I said earlier, is also based on your child's development and the questions your child has asked. Let me start with puberty and adolescence, the things that happen. Sometimes children tend to ask questions earlier, even before adolescence. They'll start asking you certain questions about their sexual or reproductive health system. Mommy, why is this happening? Daddy, why is this happening? And then when your child comes with those questions, you give responses based on their age appropriate. Now, because of the way social media is, the internet is these days, and things spread like wildfire, I also think parents should have these conversations with their kids age appropriately. And when their kids come to them and ask them questions, it is not something you shun them or you hush them, don't talk about it. I think parents should have conversations with them. And it is tough. These conversations are really tough because sometimes it is even awkward. I don't even know where to start when my kids ask me certain questions. For example, my child sees a cross-dresser on TV, on social media, or even on TV. For instance, the famous Bobrisky that's everywhere. And they come to ask, who is this? What is the symbol of this person? What impact does this individual make in the society? And sometimes parents are lost for words. What are they going to answer? What responses are you going to give? So when your kids come to you with this question, oh, I saw a video of someone who is a man who dresses like a woman. Don't just quickly collect the digital device and maybe spank your child. Why are you here? This and that. I think that is the time to have a conversation with your child and instill your family values. As I said earlier at the beginning, each family is different. There are values guiding each family. There are principles guiding each family. So it is the time to sit your child down. Your child has seen this and you don't know if they have seen worse. So you should sit your child down and then have an honest communication and tell them, this is what is happening, age appropriately, mind you, age appropriately, and tell them this is what it is, this is what is happening. Give them stories and say this is how it is, but this is who we are. This is what guides us. This is the values that I grew up with. This is the values that I want us as a family to showcase. So that's the way to approach it.
And you're the author of 2 parenting books. How important are these books to parents, and how do these books help them in understanding, like you said, child sexuality, puberty, and issues that occur in society like cross-dressing, identifying as a different gender than the one you were born with? What can they get from your books?
Okay, so the first book focuses on puberty and adolescence. I wrote that book because in my time as a young person, I found out that my parents or relatives, aunties and uncles found it difficult to talk about adolescence, puberty. It's an awkward conversation for them.
And the
They
second
don't
book?
give you. They
So
don't.
the first
They don't
one
give
has
you
to do with
information.
puberty and adolescence, and the second
They
book?
don't. It's on the surface. So when I found out that this is how it is, I decided to help adolescents to write and wrote down this book. And it doesn't have all the answers because everybody's experience is different, but it's a guide on adolescence and puberty. Now,
we're out of time, so I just want you to go to
book,
the second book. Yes.
Now, the second book stemmed from the first book because after the first book, I discovered that it is not just puberty anymore. It's not just adolescence anymore. The world is changing, and we have a community which we are seeing around us physically on social media, and they have come to stay. And no matter how we shun this conversation, I am a Christian, I am this, my religion abhors it, but we have a community that has come to stay. And if we are not careful, this community will.
So the second book, sorry to jump in there. The second book has stemmed from the first book and is looking at, some of the communities we now have today, and we can't run away from them irrespective of our religion. Very quickly, how can we get this book? The two books, actually. Let us know where we can purchase them, and we'll bring the show to a close.
Okay, so you can get these books on Amazon. You can get them on seller.com. They are available on Amazon and seller.com. Yes, you can pick them up. Yes,
thank you very much, Ijoma Okafor Emiaga, an author, a PhD candidate, and also a nurse. Thank you for your contributions on Rubbin'minds.
Wanna get with you. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now